Have you ever thought about how a single book could tell a story that spans 1,000 years and thousands of miles? Well, today we're going to do just that. We're tracing the incredible journey of one very special book, all the way from ancient Persia to the shores of Spain. Okay, just look at this. What you're seeing right here is a page from a manuscript that's over 900 years old. Seriously, the fact that it even exists is, well, it's a testament to the extraordinary lengths people went to protect knowledge. It's a story of pure human dedication against the relentless march of time.
And it really makes you wonder, right? I mean, think about it. Before the printing press, way before digital files, how on earth did you get a vital piece of knowledge from one generation to the next, across entire empires, without it getting totally lost or corrupted? Well, the story of this one book, it gives us one heck of an answer.
So, what is this book? It's called Ṣaḥīḥ al-Bukhārī, and for Sunni Muslims, this is a huge deal. It's one of the most important collections of the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad. And its journey, wow. It's basically a masterclass on how to keep knowledge alive. All right, so the first part of this journey isn't about paper and ink. It's all about people. It's about forging this incredible human chain, kind of like an intellectual family tree. Every single person was a crucial link, passing the torch, making sure the book made it to the next generation.
Okay, let's rewind. We're in the 9th century, in a region called Khurasan. The author, Imam al-Bukhārī, finishes his life's work. And get this, some reports say 90,000 people heard him recite it. But out of all those thousands, one student, a guy named al-Farabi, he's the one who becomes the critical link. He spends the next 64 years of his life just teaching this one book.
So, what was so special about this one guy, al-Farabi? Well, it boils down to sheer, unbelievable dedication. He didn't just show up for a lecture. He went through the entire book with al-Bukhārī himself. Not once, not twice, but 3 separate times. You can imagine his copy, checked and rechecked against the author's own, became the most accurate, the most trusted version out there. It was the new master copy.
And you can see how the chain starts to form, right? It goes from the author, al-Bukhārī, to the key transmitter, al-Farabi. Then he teaches a bunch of students, but 3 of his students become the main sources for the next wave. And that brings us to the next big player in our story, a scholar they call the synthesizer, Abu Dhar al-Harawi. And check this out. This diagram, it shows you that human network perfectly. This wasn't just some vague idea, you know? Scholars were meticulously tracking the stuff, this intellectual pedigree. You can literally trace the flow of knowledge from person to person. It's a verifiable chain of trust that just keeps going for centuries. So that chain of knowledge now brings us to our synthesizer, Abu Dhar. And what he does is create a new master version. And this is the version that's going to take an unbelievable journey, thousands of miles west, to find a new home in al-Andalus, which is, modern-day Spain. Okay, so Abu Dhar's big move was creating what's called a recension. Now, what's that? Well, it's way more than just another copy. See, he had studied the book with 3 different students of al-Farabi. So what he did was he took all 3 of their manuscripts and painstakingly compared them, word for word, noting every tiny difference, to create one definitive, super-checked version of the text. Honestly, it's basically medieval version control. Think of it like the track changes feature in a modern document, but all done by hand, with a quill. He used these little symbols in the margins to mark every single variation between his teacher's copies. Like one symbol for this teacher, another for that one. It's just an absolutely incredible level of detail and rigor. And just take a second to look at the map of this journey. The book starts way over here in Khurasan in Central Asia. And then, through Abu Dhar and his students, it travels all the way across North Africa to land here in al-Andalus. I mean, we're not just talking about ideas spreading. This was a physical trek across what was, for them, pretty much the known world. So you gotta ask, why did his version catch on so much in the West? Well, yeah, it was super accurate. But there was another big reason: his school of thought. Abu Dhar followed the Maliki school of law, which just so happened to be the main one in North Africa and Spain. So he had this built-in, receptive audience ready and waiting. It just made perfect sense for his version to become the new gold standard in the region. Okay, so we've been talking a lot about the people, this human chain. But now, let's get to the physical proof, the hard evidence. Because two ancient manuscripts from one family, the Saada family in Valencia, Spain, they give us this incredible, tangible proof that this whole story is true.
All right, let's meet our two rock star artifacts. First up, we've got the Abu Imran manuscript, written around the year 1099. This thing became the benchmark in the West, and get this, its owner audited it with his teacher an unbelievable 60 times. That is not a typo, 60. Then we have the Murad Mullah manuscript, and its claim to fame? It's the earliest complete copy of the entire book that we know of, the whole shebang.
And here they are. I mean, look at them. These are not just pictures in a history book. They're like windows you can peer through straight into the past. On the left, a surviving page from that legendary copy of Abu Imran. And on the right, the stunning opening of the Murad Mullah manuscript. Two real objects, separated by about 50 years, but they hold the weight of this entire incredible journey. And if you look at the notes the scribe left, it's just mind-blowing. The guy didn't just sit down and copy the book. Oh no, he cross-referenced his work against multiple other master copies. Once against this one, 3 partial readings against another one, and then twice from cover to cover against a third one. Can you imagine the painstaking effort? That's the level of care we're talking about to make sure it was absolutely perfect.
So at the end of the day, what's the big takeaway here? Why should we care about the story of a book written more than 1,100 years ago? Well, because it tells us something really fundamental about how knowledge, technology, and people all connect. There's this quote from a later scholar, al-Ghastalani, that just hits the nail on the head. He said, "The oral transmission is the ultimate arbiter, not a manuscript." Think about that. The most important thing wasn't the physical book itself, but the living, breathing connection between a teacher and their student. That human chain, it was everything. And because of that human connection, this book didn't just sit on a dusty shelf in some library. It was alive. It was part of the fabric of society. People would recite it at festivals. Some women even asked for a rare copy of it as part of their wedding dowry. And one chronicle even says it was read out loud before battles to, hopefully attract some divine help. It was that important. Which brings us right back to today, and a pretty big question for all of us, right? We live in this age of supposedly infinite information, but we all know our digital files get corrupted, our hard drives crash, and all those web links, they just die. So when you look at this 1,000-year-old story of pure human dedication, it really makes you stop and think, what knowledge from our time is actually going to survive for the next 1,000 years? And maybe more importantly, how?